Hey guys, so this week we have some kind of overarching assignments and um, lectures. There's going to be two extra, but the writing assignment for this week is very light. So just kind of bear with me. This is probably going to be the longest lecture out of all of them, but it is very important because we're going to talk about correcting punctuation in legal citations, and we're going to be doing it based on the Blue Book. Okay. I know I didn't tell you guys to buy the Blue Book, and that's because there's a free Indigo book online that works perfectly fine. But anyhow, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're preparing legal documents, mastering the citation format is absolutely essential. It's going to give clarity, credibility, and professionalism, to your writing. We're also going to talk about some of the common citation errors, like how to fix them, and your best practices, kind of moving forward with citation formatting. So let's get into it. Okay, let's begin by understanding why proper citation matters. They are more than just formalities, they have a crucial purpose. So, they do help the readers locate whatever source it is that you're using quickly and accurately. They add credibility to your arguments, and they ensure that there is consistency across the legal documents. Okay, so now imagine that you are citing a case in a brief or something that you are giving to the court, and you're not using any kind of proper formatting. Your argument could lose its impact. You run the risk of frustrating your reader, and it doesn't matter whether it's a judge, it's a colleague, it's a professor. It doesn't matter who it is. But I want to take you through just what this one in particular looks like, and we're going to kind of dig into it a little bit more. But I have taken the time to highlight all of the places here that definitely need to be addressed, and I'm going to show you exactly what they are. So on this first one, the section should absolutely be changed. It should look just like this, the little symbol that has like the two S's intertwined. Now these case names have a few things that are wrong with them. First, they're supposed to be italicized, and they're supposed to have a comma after the end of them. If you look at the EnduraCare, that one has one. So as you notice, we only need to change two of them. They also need a period after the V. As you can see, one of them has no period. The other one has a period before the V. But this is how they look after they have been corrected. So now we have the reporter names, and this is for the Georgia reporters, and it does not have any kind of punctuation in those either. This is what you should have. It should be the GA.APP. And then you're all good. Next, we have the 333, which is the page number. And because we have something that's following it that's not just the parentheses, we need to put a comma there. And that way, to separate the two citations, because the other one is going to be the parallel citation. Then we have these reporters in the parallel citations, and they're a problem too. They are supposed to look like this. They're supposed to have the period in between them. And then we have the numbers in the italics, and this is supposed to be the year in which it was published, which should be the full version of the year. And then we have this period here. This actually should not be a period, and that's because we have another citation that's coming after it. So it should be a semicolon. We also should add in here the C also. Now, there is something I want to point out here. Now, I didn't originally highlight the first C, and that's because I kind of wanted to come back to something to address here. Technically, you're supposed to italicize the C and the C also, but stylistically speaking, it really doesn't matter on the C. So I tend, just out of my personal choice, to not italicize that part, just so that the case name always sits off by itself. And that's just a personal choice. So if I had done this, the C also honestly would not be italicized either. But again, that's me. Now, the last thing is this particular part right here, which is telling you what it is citing. And it just says reversing the lower court's denial, but this is very vague. We need to know why it is being reversed, because in this particular situation, we have to know how this is going to apply. So we want it to say the full thing right here, which is reversing the lower court's denial of a motion to set aside default judgment because well-pleaded facts of the complaint, leaving aside legal conclusions, did not establish that a claim existed. And that tells you so much more. Now let's look at it in more detail, and let's break down the components of a legal citation, because a legal citation typically is going to consist of the following elements. We have the case name, which is going to identify the parties that are involved. We have the volume number, which is going to refer to the reporter volume. We have the reporter abbreviation, which is going to indicate where the case has been published. We have the page number, which shows where the case begins. We have the pinpoint page, which is going to specify where relevant information appears. And then we have the year, which is the decision date. So we have Brown versus Board of Education, 347 U.S. 483. And this might appear to be correct, but it is not. It actually has, I think, 6 errors in it. So let's look at what is wrong in exact detail and kind of correct it as we go through. First, we have the period that belongs after versus. Then we have the comma that belongs after the case name. Then we're going to abbreviate education to just the EDUC. We're going to add periods to the U and the S. And then we're going to add in that pinpoint citation. You have to have a comma too to separate, because remember I said unless it is bumping up against the parentheses, we have to have a comma afterwards. Then we also are going to remove the italics for everything that is past the EDUC period. Even the comma, remove the italics, okay? And this is the final result. So this is exactly what it should look like, but we're going to go through a couple more. And again, I know that this might seem like it's accurate, but it's not. We went from this to this. And attention to these details, even though they're small, they make a huge difference when it comes to legal writing. So now let's look at common citation errors and those fixes. So we have Miranda versus Arizona, 384 U.S. 436, 1966. And it may look correct, but it is not. So let's keep going. First, we have no period after the V. We also, again, have no comma. We have no period between the U and the S. And then we have our pinpoint citation, which also does, again, require the comma before. And then we need to remove the italics again from everything after Miranda versus Arizona, including the comma. And then we are left with this. So to recap, we went from this to this. Now let's do another one. We have Gideon versus Wainwright, 372 U.S. 335, 1963. It's not correct either. Again, we have to start with the period. We have to add the comma. We have to add the period between the U and the S. A pinpoint citation if it's applicable with the comma. And again, we have to change it from italics, including the comma. And then we are left with this version. So we went from this to this. Now let's look at a statutory citation. So we have 42 U.S. Code Section 2000E-2A. Now, this also might look correct to you. And maybe one thing might stand out to you is like the U.S. part, because I kind of harped on that in the last 3, but it's not correct. So we're going to start with first removing this space here. And then we're going to add the period. I thought you probably guessed it, between the U
and the S, but we're also going to add one after the C. And then we're going to remove the rest of the word code. Now we're also going to remove the word section because we don't ever spell out the word section when it comes to legal writing. We use the symbol. So then we add a comma along with the publication year of the statute. And this is what we're left with. We went from this to this, okay? And once you've introduced a case, you don't actually have to repeat the full citation. Let me show you what that looks like, because the way we do legal writing, it allows you to use short forms and what's called id. So let's go back to Miranda for a moment. Again, what if you're citing it in the same paragraph or even like the next paragraph? As long as it is done consecutively, it would look like this, okay? You would use ID period, capital I, little d period, when citing that same source consecutively. But you also have to italicize this. And you would, it is okay to do this period when you italicize it. But what if there's another page that we want to cite? We originally were using, 436, which is where the case starts, and we were using the pinpoint citation of 467. So we have to carry that through. But let's say that we want to add another page that we are actually looking at. That would simply look like this. We still use the id with the uppercase and the lowercase and the period italicized. And then we add at and then whatever page number. And that is if you are citing a specific page. And then this is what it looks like. So using short forms correctly is going to make your writing appear to be, more professional, and it is more concise. But let's now look at secondary sources like law reviews and stuff like that, which are going to require specific formatting as well. And this one is going to be a little bit trickier because just try to follow along with me. I hope I made it as painless as possible. But let's say that we have the Harvard Law Review article, and it's called Judicial Review of the Separation of Powers, and it's in volume 122, page 567, and published in the year 2009. This is not correct. We have to follow the format of the article title, the volume, the abbreviated journal, the page, and then the year. So let's start moving it around. We're going to start with moving the Judicial Review and Separation of Powers to the beginning of everything. After we move it to the front, then we have to add a comma, okay? And it's still italicized. Then we're going to go in and remove the quotations that were originally around it. Then we're going to have to move everything else around, but we're going to start with the volume first. It's going to go up here before the name of the journal, or I guess in this case, the law review. After we do that, we now have to abbreviate the title itself. We're going to remove the word the. We're going to take off the ARD. We're going to take off the AW in law. And we're going to take off the IEW in review. We have to then go in and add a period after each one of these. And then we're going to remove the word article and the comma. After this, we're going to move the page number to the end of the law review's name. And then we're going to remove everything else that's inside of the parentheses except for the year. And then we're going to leave that. If we need to add another page, then we go in and we add that as well. And then this is what we're left with. So we went from all of this to this. Let's do another one. So William Blackstone, Commentaries of the Law of England, Volume 1 at 75 from 1765. In this one, again, not correct. So again, we're going to move the volume all the way to the front. We're going to then take off everything right here, the comma, the volume, the two periods, and the at. We're going to then keep everything else right here. And this is what we're left with. So we have the William Blackstone commentaries on the laws of England, and we went to this. And in this one, by the way, we are going to italicize only the article names, by the way. I meant to tell you that. Same thing for the last one. Now, let's wrap up with some of the best practices. To ensure that you have, error-free citations, you need to do certain things like you need to check, proper abbreviations. You need to insert all, and I mean all necessary punctuation. Don't forget commas, don't forget periods, don't forget section symbols, nothing. You also want to use italics or underlining properly, though. You're going to italicize case names in documents, and you'll underline them in court documents. You have to be consistent, okay? You've got to stick to the same citation style throughout your entire writing. You also have to use the id and the short forms correctly. Just do that because you'll avoid like redundancy in any kind of repeated citations. And then also always double check your work. Legal citations are precise, so even minor errors can end up causing a whole lot of confusion. So anyhow, I know this is just a real basic kind of thing, but we're going to do some more stuff on citations a little bit further in. It's going to be under the research section, and but for this particular assignment, just look at the legal memorandum. It has citation errors in it. Just identify and correct them. Read the directions. It'll tell you like how you're supposed to notate it. I can't remember if it was using I don't remember if it was using the comments and track changes or not right off the top of my head, but just pay attention to that. And if you need anything else, just let me know. Bye.